All right guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have the all new ARC 34 by Mathews. This is going to be an entirely new offering for Mathews for one of their hunting bows for 2026. They're still going to have the RS in the short draw, and you're going to have the XD for your long draws. Those are still going to be on the lift model, but for the ARC, they're going to have an ARC 30 and an ARC 34. This one I got here in front of me is pretty much fully kitted out with all of the accessories that you can put on this, including the new ARC Engage limb legs for it, which are going to be different from your EXO limb legs from your other bows. So if you're going to be someone who's going to get one of these new ARCs, you're going to need new accessories for it because they have changed everything on this bow. From the cams to the riser, they have done a whole lot to some of the mounting accessories. A lot of this is new, and we're going to try to cover as much of that in this video as I can get for you guys. So this bow is going to come in 13 different color options with what I believe is going to be probably the most popular color for 2026. This is Kodiak Brown. But this bow is still going to come in all your favorite shale, earth, ambush, your camos, Sitka, First Light, Bottomlands. It's still going to come in all of those patterns, but I do believe this Kodiak Brown is going to be one of the most popular colors for 2026. So let's start up here at the cam. We'll work our way all the way through the riser and down to the accessories. This is going to be the SWX 2 cam for Mathews. So this is kind of similar to the SWX cam and kind of similar to the Title cam. It's a little bit of a pull on both of them. This is still going to use the SWX modules from the last lift series for the last 2 years. So if you're a shop owner or someone who already has modules for these SWX, then you're still going to be able to use those. And with the SWX mods, you can not only change draw length, but you can change your draw weights. Draw weight peaks on this is going to be typically what everything is in Mathews. It's going to be 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, and 85 pounds of peak weight. And all that is going to be based on your module. Sticking to the modules, they have introduced a new module for 2026 that still will work on your lift series bows. It is going to be the SWX Z mod. The Z mod is going to be a smoother draw mod. It is going to take a couple feet per second off of your bow, but in general, it's going to take a little bit of that Mathews hump out of it. I'm not someone who really, I don't mind it at all. I've been shooting Mathews for a couple years now, on and off. I don't mind the little bit of stiffness in their draw cycle, but some people have come in the shop, say it has a little bit of a stiff side right before it dumps into the valley. The SWX Z mod completely eliminates that, especially just going over there and shooting it. What it does for speed at different draw lengths, different draw weights, to be determined. We're going to make an entire video where we compare the SWX versus the SWX Z mod in a bunch of different draw lengths, draw weights, with different weight arrows, so you guys can see what it's going to do for your setup if that's something you're interested in. If you have a spec you want to see, drop it down in the comments, whatever that draw length is and whatever that draw weight is. I'd like to go from something that's really low, so you're 45 pound, 40 pound, all the way up to the 80 pound and see really, you know, how much it does affect it. So with the SWX 2 cam, like I said, it kind of does have a pull off of the Title if you've been following Mathews target lineup for any amount of time now. Once they went over to the Title, they went to the perimeter weight system. Now this is going to add just a little bit of weight to the end of the cam here, and I'm sure that's as that cam is rotating over, it's creating momentum, creating more efficiency, and creating more speed in the cam. These bows, from what I've seen and what I've talked to and some of the chronos that we've thrown them over, have been a little bit faster than the lift series from last year. So already bows like my Lift X shooting 74 pounds, 505 grain arrow was tossing it at 292. I know people that are shooting some similar setups that are getting even more speed out of it. So really curious to see what kind of speeds we'll get when we get over here to the chrono. But still has the limb shift technology in with the Mathews that they introduced last year. This was a huge game changer for us here at the shop. We could tune people's bows right there in the tuning station, right out on the range. All right, Mathews has completely redesigned the riser and limb pocket for this bow. By doing that, they have changed a lot of the geometry in the limb itself. The limbs are a little bit less parallel than they were in years, or more parallel than they were in years past, less beyond parallel than they have been. Believe that is going to help with the efficiency and create it, because this axle is actually traveling in a much more of a vertical motion instead of a sweeping motion coming back out to center. It's traveling straight up and down, so that's going to help increase the efficiency of this bow and help you gain a couple more feet a second out of it. Entirely new limb pocket for 2026. Definitely have shaved a lot of weight in the limb pocket itself, and that is attached to the all-new ARC riser. This is an entirely redesigned riser for 2026. It does hold the look of a Mathews riser, very skeletonized. They have added a little bit more bridging structure at the top and the bottom, but inside the riser they have added a lot of features that are new for 2026, like the integrated V-bar bracket at the bottom. You still have the option with the bushing to mount it in the back if you want, but now with Mathews, a new V-bar and bridge lock bracket, everything is tighter into the bow, and it doesn't have that slop. If you've ever attached one of these onto the back of a bow before, you know if you don't get it perfectly centered before you wrench it down, it can be at a little bit of a different angle. We've eliminated that now with the bridge lock version of the V-bar bracket. On the front of the grip, one of the things that I noticed that I've shot with other bows before is instead of the grip being flat in the front, it now has two little ridges. From someone who just barely rests his fingers on the front of the grip, it gives me something tactile to put my fingers on to really feel, you know, how much pressure I'm adding into the bow or not, and to see if they're in the same spot. The Darton bow I've been shooting for the last little bit has had the big groove in the front right there, and I absolutely love that because once I get in the bow, I can just get my fingers in the same spot every single time. So now that Mathews has added that to the front, it is a very good little addition that they have added to these bows, and they have a bunch of these little cutouts kind of just everywhere in the riser, and I'm sure that is shaving just a little bit of weight to keep this as one of the lightest 34-inch axle-to-axle bows on the market and in an aluminum body. Another new feature that Mathews has packed into their bows for this year, this is into one of their accessories that is going to be into the riser itself. We've always had the bridge lock stabilizers for the front, but now they have a angled bridge lock bar for the front. So if you're someone who's liked shooting an 8 or a 10 degree down bar, you now have that option in Mathews bridge lock. They have added this little notch in the back, which has changed this bar to be a 10 degree drop. You can still run it as a straight bar inside, but if you get a little bit the longer bar, I believe this is a 10-inch, you can run a little bit of a drop out the front. Still, you can run it all the way in to pack it up to travel it around with. Then when you get to your hunting spot, you just layer it out, tighten it down, and you're good to go. Now you have a drop bar in the bridge lock version. You don't have to run your standard bar off the front with a quick disconnect. All right, so this bow is a 34-inch axle-to-axle, as the name implies. It's going to come in a 6.5-inch brace height with an IBO speed rating of 343 feet a second. I'm sure that's with the regular SWX mod. We will go ahead and test that at 70 pounds, 30 inches with a 350 grain arrow. We also have a 440 and a 545 grain, and we'll go ahead and shoot all of that at 30 inches and 28 inches to give you guys a couple different speed reference points to see if where your arrow setup is going to be. We've already gone over the peak draw weights of 50, 60, 65, 70, 75, and 80, and those are based off of the modules that you get for these cams. The 34 is going to come in draw lengths from 26.5 to 32 inches. So they have added another ½ inch of draw length into this, just like they did with the ARC 30. The ARC 34 now goes up to 32 inches of draw length, where the Lift X and the Lift only went to 31.5. Let off is going to be 80 or 85% depending on the module that you get. The SWX Z mod comes in one let off. It's somewhere in between the 80-85%. Physical weight on this bow, we talked about it being one of the lightest bows on the market in this 34-inch axle-to-axle platform. It is 4.3 pounds. We're going to weigh that. We're going to confirm it, but the lifts last year were extremely light. I don't see any reason why the ARC would be any heavier. If anything, it looks like they have skeletonized this more and taken more out of this, even though they are claiming that it is a stronger riser than they have ever run in years past. So let's shoot it and see if this is going to be a bow that you're going to want to buy for 2026. All right, this is the Mathews ARC 34. This is going to be our speed test. We're going to do this at 30 inches, 70 pounds, and then we'll do it again at 28 inches, 70 pounds. But just to confirm, this is 70 pounds. Ooh. 71.2, just a tick hot. All right. 70.1 on the scale, so right there at 70 pounds. First arrow is 350 grains. I think the IBO on this was 345, something, 343. All right, so the listed speed for this is 343 at 70 pounds, 30 inches with a 350 grain arrow. Let's see what it is. We're shooting it out of a whisker biscuit. These are the regular SWX cams, or SWX mods with 85% let off. First arrow, 325.2. So a little off of their 343. Let's try another one. But 325 is not slow. Second arrow, 328.2. Still up there. Overall, I've always liked the draw on a Mathews. I've always thought the draw cycle was very consistent, smooth, it dumps over. It does not have a big valley. So for someone who likes to relax into the shot, there's not much relaxing or wants to pull you forward. But because of that, that's what makes these bows efficient. There's not a lot of lag time for the cam to roll over to pull it out of the valley. 321.3 for a third arrow at 350 grains. Now when you go to 85%, it makes it even tighter. So you stay active in the shot. Again, personally, I like that. I know people who don't, and maybe this isn't the bow for you. There's plenty of other bows on the market, but we're gonna do an entire bow or an entire module review with the SWX/Z mod. We're gonna do some speed comparisons on those. So if you guys wanna see that, drop it in the comments down below what you'd like to see. This is 440 grains at 78 pounds, 30 inches. Down there slapping arrows, 294. So for a hunting arrow to go 294, it's pretty good. 440, 70 pounds, 30 inches. 293.7, so very consistent. Just as a reference, I'm shooting a Lift-X 33, 74 pounds, 505 grain arrow is shooting 292. So I am 5 pounds less, and I'm about 50 pounds less, 60 pounds less in my arrow. So I would say it is as efficient, if not more efficient, than the Lift-X was from last year, 33 inches. Last one is 545 grains, 70 pounds, 30 inches. 267.1, again, very consistent as you drop down in, or as you go up in arrow weight. This bow just stays very efficient, keeps pushing it out. 550-ish grain arrow going 267, 30 inches, not too bad. Let's go ahead and swap these cams or these modules over to 28 and see how efficient this thing is as we start to lose inches in draw length, if it stays there or if it makes some big wild jumps. But let's go swap these out and see what it does. Okay, so this is going to be the speed test, 28 inches, 70 pounds with the ARC 34 from Mathews. Yeah, let's see where it's at. First arrow, 350 grains. 2870s, pushing it 306, and I think we were like 320 something, mid 320s. So we've lost a little, but not too bad. 2870. 304.2, and the third arrow. Comes in at 304.2. So same. We're gonna go to a 440 grain. This is gonna be more your hunting arrow. 28 inches, 70 pounds. I would call this pretty average of people that we see in the shop, somewhere in this ballpark. That guy's gonna be shooting about 276, 277. So that's really good arrow speed for a 34-inch axle-to-axle bow. You're gonna get a little bit more speed if you jump down to the 30. But if you want a little bit of a taller axle-to-axle platform, this would be the bow for you. In the Mathews line, at least. 275.8. All right, last one. 545, 2870. Mathews ARC 34. 250.4, that sounds about right. So 250.4 with a 545 grain arrow. This is the Mathews ARC 34, a completely redesigned bow from Mathews for 2026. They've packed a lot into this bow with the weight system here in the cam, the perimeter weight system. You still have the limb shift technology, which has been very, very crucial for us getting people in and their bows tuned up here in the shop. Completely redesigned riser, more skeletonized, more bracing structure. They've added cool little features like these little ribs in the front, whether that's to shave weight or if it's for tactile so you know where you're putting your fingers every time. Either way, I like it, but yeah, completely redesigned, new limb pockets and everything. I do think this is probably going to be one of the better selling bows for 2026, and we have them in stock here at Barefoot Archery. So come check us out in Charlotte. Come test fire all the bows, find out which one you're going to be shooting for 2026. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video. We'll see you on the next one.